Room here at 5 o'clock, a grand jury has returned a not true bill in a deadly Portland police shooting from June. This surrounds the death of 40-year-old Michael Ray Townsend. A not true bill is a dismissal of charges that happens when there isn't enough evidence to charge a defendant. The shooting happened outside of a Motel 6 near Northeast Grand and Holiday Streets on June 24th. Police had been called on a welfare check. They say Townsend charged at an officer with a sharp-ended screwdriver while officers were talking with him. That's when he was shot. Police say he had consumed a large amount of methamphetamine. Now to a growing trend in the pandemic among COVID victims. They are younger now compared to when the coronavirus first hit. In fact, there's been an uptick in deaths among people younger than 30. KGW's Pat Doris took a look at the data and went looking for answers.
Monday through Friday, the Oregon Health Authority puts out a report on the COVID pandemic, which includes some information on the reported number of people who died. The past few days have been grim and included several people 60 or younger. The state does not report their names, but gives them a number, which shows where they are on the growing list of the dead from the pandemic in Oregon. On September 11th, those 60 and younger came from Douglas and Lane and Tillamook County. On September 12th, they were from Douglas and Josephine, Lane and Marion counties. And on September 13th, they were from Klamath and Marion County. And yes, we did notice number 3476 was just 24 years old.
I scan those every day, and I do gasp when I see some of the ages of people who have died.
Dr. Jennifer Vines is the public health officer for Multnomah County and involved in all things COVID in the greater Portland metro area. She said advanced age is still the leading factor that will predict whether a COVID patient will die. But the Delta variant spreads so fast through various communities now that relative youth is not always enough, especially if they are not vaccinated.
But again, the risk of death is not zero in any age group. And I think just the sheer number of people being infected by the highly contagious Delta variant, it means it's finding its way into enough young people to find that person who is going to succumb to the infection.
And the OHA numbers bear that out. This report shows the number of people who died each week from COVID. The far left column is for those 29 and younger. It has a long line of mostly zeros until the week of August 1st, and then the deaths just keep coming. Since the pandemic began until August 1st, 11 people 29 and younger have died in Oregon from COVID. But in just the last 6 weeks, another 14 that age have died as the pandemic spreads its deadly path. In Northeast Portland, Pat Doris, KGW News.
Pfizer says new data shows that booster shots may be needed 6 months after primary doses for its COVID vaccine. This comes 2 days before the FDA's advisory committee is set to discuss the company's application for COVID-19 booster shots. Pfizer says that a third shot will be safe and necessary for most Americans to take. The early data suggests the effectiveness of the company's vaccine decreases after 6 to 8 months, and getting a booster shot around that time will maintain a higher level of protection. Columbia Sportswear is one of the biggest companies in Oregon, and today its CEO sat down at the White House and talked COVID vaccine mandates with the president. Tim Gordon spoke with Columbia's Tim Boyle after that meeting.
It was a gathering at the White House of some of the biggest business leaders in the country, and President Joe Biden welcomed them.
We'll hear from the CEOs and presidents of Disney, Microsoft, Walgreens, Columbia Sportswear.
Columbia Sportswear Chairman and CEO Tim Boyle had a seat at the table. Boyle has been a steady supporter of COVID vaccines and a mandate for businesses.
I'm just thrilled with it.
We spoke with him a week ago after the president announced his plan, and again today after the presidential meeting. Boyle says a mandate levels the playing field for hiring and keeping employees.
You know, we've been talking about it for months inside the company. It was just frankly too risky for us to just go it alone with the issues around trying to find employees.
The president's plan is aimed at companies with 100 employees or more to require their workers be vaccinated or be tested every week.
It's based on what science tells us, and vaccination is key to getting the pandemic under control and keeping the economy strong.
With roughly 4,000 employees in the U.S., Columbia Sportswear will go from strongly encouraging to requiring vaccinations.
We can talk to our employees about the health benefits and the importance of being vaccinated and enforce that.
Columbia is a global company. Its products are made and sold around the world. So I asked Boyle about workers in other countries.
We want to get those folks vaccinated as soon as we can. Some places in the world, there's no vaccine available for them yet. We'll work hard to get our government to send vaccinations where it can be used for our employees, and that's something that the president talked about today.
And I also asked what the president said to Boyle personally. The answer about sportswear that can weather a storm pleased him.
And he thanked me for the great stuff that Columbia makes that he was wearing down in Louisiana. So it was very nice and a real thrill to hear that compliment from the president.
Well, this business mandate, once it's in effect, will cover 80 million Americans. But that's at least a few weeks off still. The president says the Labor Department is still working out the details to make sure the mandate fits within the law. Tim Gordon, KGW News.
In Washington, the state is seeing the highest rate of COVID cases and hospitalizations since the start of the pandemic. There are almost 1,600 patients hospitalized with COVID right now.
Our resource hospitals in places like the Tri-Cities and Wenatchee and Everett and Vancouver, as well as Seattle, all of them are going to incredible lengths to care for their patients. They are doing things like turning areas not meant to be taking care of critical care patients into ICUs.
And while officials are saying hospitals are experiencing extreme stress, they aren't yet into a crisis of care standard like Idaho, for instance, where they've basically had to start rationing health care. In a briefing today, they also said despite a number of COVID cases among students, they are not seeing large outbreaks in schools. Portland parents have one more tool to get a clearer picture of COVID cases at their kids' school. This week, Portland Public Schools released its new COVID-19 dashboard. Here's a quick look at it. And we chose to look at the data from the start of school. It shows 140 students have been isolated, meaning they tested positive or were presumed positive for COVID. It also shows more than 300 students quarantined who might have been exposed outside of school, another 300 at school. It's unclear why there's no data for staff. While we've heard from a number of students, parents, and teachers who are worried about the potential of COVID cases, one mom who has 3 kids in the district says she's not too concerned yet.
I'm not overly concerned given that we're a district of 50,000 students. 300 students is a very low percentage.
We spoke to a couple doctors right at the start of the school year, and they say it's realistic to expect COVID cases. Right now, some of the state's school districts have decided to publicly post COVID-19 data. Others have not. Portland appears to be walking back now on a proposed Texas boycott and travel ban over the state's controversial abortion law. Instead, city officials are putting aside $200,000 for organizations that, quote, deliver programs and services related to reproductive health care. Originally, City Council was set to vote on a Texas boycott last week, but commissioners postponed it, saying they needed more information about the local impact of a boycott. School districts are scrambling to keep bus routes running while dealing with a shortage of bus drivers. And now the Reynolds School District also has several buses out of service because over the weekend, thieves stole the catalytic converters off of 19 buses while they are parked in the transportation yard. It'll take months to get those buses fixed. The thieves caused about $70,000 in damage. It's very hard to get a hold of a catalytic converter right now. There are supply chain issues, and it's valuable on the black market because it contains precious metal like platinum.
It's a public school district, so this really is coming out of, everyone's funds, who support, Reynolds School District. And that hurts. We could, use $70,000 for a lot of different things within our district.
Kids are still getting to school. Reynolds has enough buses, so it didn't have to cancel any routes because of the theft.